when you suffer from depression and someone tells you to just be happy and not think about it.
Yeah, for the humor, we gotta smack them.
Yeah. And next time someone has an asthma attack, I'll just be like, oh my god, girl, just breathe, girl. Sorry,
I had asthma when I was young. That advice did not work. Hi, my name is Kevin and I conduct talks and programs focused on resilience and mental health, specifically among youth.
Hi, I'm Reets. I am the founder of Your Headla, which is a mental health collective that aims to center and amplify marginalized voices.
I've seen a podcast, A New Narrative. It was really insightful. It made me consider not to be too hung up about KPIs.
Wait, so what KPIs are you hung up about?
I mean, Rebound and Resilience is a social enterprise, so we do have to meet revenue targets. Because in Singapore, it's always about what's next, right? And that causes a lot of stress and issues. So sometimes you gotta learn to, like you said, just chill. In this game of Hold Up, both of us will be reviewing online opinions about mental health. Together, we'll decide how we feel about these opinions and choose a button to press.
If we love the comment, we'll press the green button. If we don't, we'll press red. But if a comment gives us mixed feelings or we feel it's worth a deeper discussion, we'll press hold up to pause the game and have a conversation.
I'm excited but also scared at the same time at what we'll see.
I'm scared we fight.
We'll see.
Watch your words.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm getting a bit nervous.
I got hands. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we're not allowed to slap each other today, so we are all on some spectrum of mental illness, just how bad only. I totally agree with this.
Yeah, I agree with this. Mental illness is always portrayed as a binary. You're either well, and then suddenly you're not well, which is not true. Yeah.
Treat mental health as something that's reserved for a select few people.
That's true. It's always very funny when people say you are an advocate for the mental health community.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, what community? Yeah, everybody also got mental health, right?
Even my friend in her 30s always like to say, my life is so hard and never depression. Just be strong and force yourself. I did a volcano eruption from there.
That's the thing that a lot of people do, right? They force until they cannot force. Then they are mentally ill. I wish that people get the support that they need, and it's okay to say that you need help. No need to everyday suck up, you know.
To my parents, mental illness is fake, an excuse to be lazy. You are batshit crazy. The kind of self that leads you to hallucinate, talk to yourself, physically hurt people, or you are just a soft strawberry making excuses. Funny but sad at the same time.
Let's talk about it. There's a lot there. It's funny always that, the older generation always say that, we are the strawberry generation or peach or whatever, right? Easily bruised.
But they raised the strawberry generation.
Exactly.
Even for me, my parents, right, when I was facing it, they didn't fully understand, they couldn't understand, right? But they did their best to empathize, read up about it. But from the experiences speaking to a lot of people, they don't have that luxury. To them, it's really you just need to buck up. You're just being lazy. I think it's really difficult because suppression and numbing are two of the worst ways you can deal with conditions like this.
This is more harmful when people think that mentally ill people are violent.
Yeah, the media doesn't help right? Especially if you play it up a little bit, like schizophrenia. Not all people who are schizophrenic are murderers or are violent.
But the not all argument would say that, some people are, which is fine. But it's not the schizophrenia that makes you a violent person. I think that's a very important thing to debunk. When you have depression or anxiety, these are the very palatable mental illnesses. But with schizophrenia or with personality disorders, these are the boogeymen. You will never see these people on the front of mental health advocacy campaigns. I think that's a bigger conversation to have. Even with mental illnesses, there's a privilege disparity, right? Some mental illnesses are talked more about than other people. Mental illness is not an excuse to be racist though. Ayo! Damn! Mentally ill people can be racist, but it's not the mental illness talking, it's the racism talking. You know what I mean? Singaporean Redditors who have anxiety, depression, other mental health issues. How do you cope in your day-to-day lives?
I started by accomplishing small goals. It's easier to say it than to actually start doing things, but you've got to start somewhere, otherwise things will never get better. I tend to want to agree with this.
Yes, I do
Yeah.
agree.
Actually, I want to change my
Okay, change
answer.
it. Let's go.
I
change.
want to change my answer, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
When I kind of screwed up my A-levels, I tried to recover by setting milestones for myself. I said to Kevin, if you get this by March, by April, then you're on your recovery journey. The problem with that, right, is that when I got closer to the date, I didn't meet it. I got even more anxious. And it's like, wow, you can't even do this. And then you're thinking, what's the point of my existence if I cannot even do this? I'm a burden to my family and society. Right?
Yeah.
I think for me, that recovery was just letting go. Was just completely letting go of the identities and the structures around like how I base my worth on. But after that, I think small goals helped me.
Small is relative, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, like when I was in the worst periods for myself, taking a shower, for example, that was a small goal that I set.
I think it's contextual. You just gotta see what works for you, but know that it's a balance between letting go and also doing small things that spark joy. I mean, not necessarily clearing my stuff, but no, just small things like going to wildlife. I love animals. I haven't talked about it, but just going in nature, interacting with wildlife, that helps me out.
Life being amazing doesn't mean a person can't be depressed. I actually agree with that. When I was institutionalized, a lot of the nurses actually told me like, oh, but you're so young, you speak like this, you're well educated, why are you here? You just go home lah, you know? But what the nurses didn't know was that, you know, I have had to suffer from a lot of trauma in my life, right? And all of that was coming up. You don't know what people have been through.
Wish therapy, referring to therapy, wasn't 200 an hour, or that the free ones would stop postponing or setting a date like months away. Oh, we need to talk about this. It takes months sometimes, especially in a public hospital, just to get an appointment with a psychologist.
Even if you go in the public system, because you can't choose your counselor, right? So let's say like, you know, you are a trans person or you are a brown person, how do you know that, you know, you will have a therapist or a counselor who actually understands like, you know, the systemic things that you have to navigate, right?
And those cases, but then of course if you're privileged, you get a shorter waiting time, and then to them it's relative, like 200 was 200 to some people. But for most people, even 50 is a problem already, and they're going again, they have repeated sessions because they are already so vulnerable. There's so many things in their mind. Thinking about therapy and like choosing is like the last thing on their mind. You know, and because of that, they don't seek help. Ultimately, they just say it's too much work, I'm going to do it with it myself, and then that leads sometimes sadly to even worse conditions and suicide.
So your headline actually has a list of queer affirming affordable therapists. We don't circulate it publicly, but if you want, you can drop us a DM and I will get back to you.
I guess I'm afraid of being classified as a mentally unstable citizen, and it might affect my future options. We need to talk about this. I think you will. Especially in the context now that we live in, like our culture is not accepting of it. Unless you have a very boss that really understands, you can communicate with, it's hard. Recently they made it not mandatory to like reveal your situation, your condition. But that is just legislation. There's a lot more that goes beneath it.
Employment discrimination is really very real, and I just want to like affirm that this is a very real fear, and it's very valid.
What can they do? Hey Reetaza, I'm sorry for not providing solutions here.
But individuals cannot have the solution to big systemic problems like this, right?
I want a girlfriend, but I don't want a girlfriend because I would only be a burden to her. I would probably get hurt pretty quick because she couldn't stand my depressed ass after a short time and would break up with me. I guess we have to talk about it again.
Wow, the tweet is at 3:30 a.m. Damn. This person going through it. I used to think like this. Last time, I used to think I cannot date anyone because, you know, I'm... and I guess I did go into relationships carrying my baggage with my big guns. Those relationships were points of immense healing for me, and also for my partners.
Probably my point of view is that I think you don't want to go in it expecting a cure.
Oh yes, yes. Damn, Kevin!
Why? That's true.
It's
a normal statement because you have the expectation, then it will probably lead to a lot of struggle.
No, you're right. A lot of people go into relationships, like romantic relationships, thinking that maybe it will be like a cure, but I don't think so. it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think like we need to learn how to
risk.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
I
have
mean,
to take the risk anyway.
yeah,
sometimes.
then me house, yeah. I never
we-
recovered, then all alone my whole life. Bruh,
Yeah.
that's sad, you know. Maybe it's not about, oh, mentally ill people this, mentally ill people that, but also about like recognizing, you know, what are our triggers, what supports do we need in a relationship, what are our needs,
Yeah.
and that's work that happens in every relationship, yeah.
I think that's a good closing also about like communication both ways. Like mental health is an ongoing conversation.
It is.
It really is. Yeah, we agree again. Hey. It is not just labeled or reserved for a select few of people. Whether is it between employee, employer, whether is it between friends, whether is it between partners.
Yeah.
You know, it is a conversation where we try our best to empathize with someone, even though I know it's difficult. So it's knowing where to draw the line and when to have conversations and say that, you know, like we can have some boundaries. But
As someone who lives with a personality disorder, recovery is not an option for me. There's no recovery from it, right? Everything that your Headla does, I want people to feel good. Like, it's not just about like, you know, I come and I discuss serious things, but I actually want you to feel good and have fun and do nonsense, which is a big part of my work. There's also a lot of external work of like, you know, dismantling systems and like having conversations and, you know, and it's also the internal work, which is a lot, but I think it'll be okay if we do it together. Yeah.
thanks for watching this episode of Hold Up. If you want to connect with us or just understand more about mental health and conversations around it, you can follow Rebound with Resilience on Instagram, Spotify or YouTube.
And if you're looking for safe spaces to laugh and do nonsense and build community and, you know, talk about all the big stuff, you can find us at Your Headla on Instagram. Your Headla, yeah, La with a H.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, 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 yeah.